Hi everyone, my name is Josh, and in this video I will be taking you through the infographic and the multiple choice quiz that I created on the topic of sets. So I chose this topic as I am currently teaching it on placement with my first year maths class, so I thought it would be a good idea to choose as I can use both the infographic and the MCQ as learning resources over the course of the next few weeks. Not only is sets a key topic in junior cycle maths, but it is also hugely important in our everyday lives as well. So, for example, Wall Street bankers often use set theory to identify any overlaps that there may be between different investment strategies, similar to how we would use the intersection of two sets in junior cycle maths. The article Making Sense of Sets in Theory and Life, published by the Wall Street Journal, goes into more detail about this use of sets. However, to give a simpler example maybe of how we use sets every day, all you'd have to do is to open your cutlery drawer. Now, I'm not sure about you, but I know that my cutlery drawer at home is organized into different sets. So I have my set of knives in a different section to my set of forks, allowing me to quickly grab the utensil I require at any point. Moving on then to my infographic on this topic. So when I was creating my infographic, I wanted to ensure that it wasn't just a wall of text or a set of notes. I wanted it to act as a visual learning tool that would support students who might find sets abstract on first encounter. In attempting to make the infographic visually pleasing, I firstly added plenty of images that I thought would help students understand sets and the different concepts within this topic. However, upon receiving feedback from one of my peers, namely Liam, he helped me realize that had overdone it with the images and that my infographic had become complicated to follow and to understand. Funnily enough, this feedback actually aligned with the podcast episode I listened to recently on the topic of dual coding on the Learning Scientist podcast. On this podcast, they discussed that too many images may distract from learning instead of enhancing it. I have since removed certain images from my infographic and I only kept ones that I think add real value to the infographic. And as you can see on screen here, this is the final product of my infographic. However, when I was first creating this, the first problem I encountered was deciding what to actually include on this infographic. So I decided in the end to focus on the core building blocks students need before being able to tackle more complicated problems on sets. So I intentionally resisted adding too much content because I find myself that junior cycle students benefit from clarity and simplicity rather than information overload. I also used a very clear layout, separating different concepts into clear sections, as you can see, and I deliberately color-coded these sections to really emphasize the difference between concepts such as set notations and set operations. Another big part of my thinking was accessibility. So I included real life examples like the sets of class members and school subjects, like you can see there in the bottom left, as students can relate to these and connect them to the abstract definitions of the mathematics. Moving on to the quiz then, I decided to go with a multiple choice format on Google Forms. And I chose to conduct an MCQ as in 2008, Gary Villan and others carried out a study that found that multiple choice quizzes can improve students' learning performance and their perceptions of the quality of their learning experience. I also decided to use Google Forms as it collects responses automatically and gives me instant feedback on common errors or misconceptions that students are making. Because of this, I can use the results to plan what needs revision or reinforcement and deliver this feedback to students as quickly as possible. I feel that this is vital as Jay Parks mentioned on his podcast episode with Don Zamaro, the whole goal here is learning, not assessing. So the goal of this MCQ is not to assess students at the end of the topic and then say move on to a new topic, but rather see where the gaps in their knowledge are and address those gaps promptly. When I first drafted my MCQ, I asked one of my peers to give me some feedback on the quiz. We discussed the questions on the quiz, and Liam informed me that he thought some of my questions kind of focused on recall rather than higher order thinking. This can lead to surface learning over deep conceptual understanding. So as a result, I altered some of the questions in the MCQ. such as this one that I changed from having to select the correct definition, which is something that you can obviously just learn off, to having to choose the option that contains a mathematical set. This means that students have to understand the definition of a set to be able to select the correct one or the real set in the question, rather than just learning off the definition. So overall, this assignment helped me to think about how visual aids, and in particular the design of those aids, along with assessment, can influence students' knowledge and understanding of a topic or concept. Creating these resources has helped me to think more deeply about how students learn and how teachers can scaffold this understanding effectively. And also, I did get 2 new resources out of it. Thanks very much for watching my video.